Today, I want to talk about the reality distortion field. So this is a psychological bias or an attitude that is had by many visionaries like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, where they're super rigid and super demanding. And I want to tell you what are the consequences in terms of persuasion and sales, and in specific, why it did not work for me at all, and why I think it should only be used for specific purposes. Let's take a look. So first of all, what is the reality distortion field? To put it plainly, it's extreme rigidity. You behave in a very specific way, and the only thing that you tolerate from other people are very extreme behaviors. That is, you're very demanding in terms of your principles, in terms of the actions, in terms of the demands that you make, and either the person completely aligns with this or they're out of the game. That's pretty much what you do. It can be considered a type of extreme qualification. It's not different from a cult if you think about it. It's making extreme demands of people and saying you have to align with all of these. And if you differ in even one thing, you're out of here because we don't want you. And here's the key. In my experience, to summarize what I'm about to say in the next 10 minutes, it's a very polarizing attitude. Either people love you or they hate you, but they're not going to be any place in the middle. And the key is, in my opinion, it's very good to maximize performance, but only for short amounts of time and for very specific purposes, because otherwise it just poisons the complete relationship. It's not sustainable in the long term, neither for the person who is making the demands or the person who is receiving them. So it destroys all types of relationships. And even if you admire the person for their reality distortion field, you're not going to be able to interact with them for a long period of time, because it just burns you out, period. So what happens is, this works as a type of qualification. You've probably heard about qualification from sales and marketing. That is, qualifying a person is making sure that they have the right characteristics for what you're trying to pitch. So for example, if I'm trying to pitch a sports product to people who are men in their 30s, if someone has an interest in terms of sports, they're more qualified. If they have an interest in terms of the specific sport that this product is for, they're even more qualified. So qualification can even be considered how much the person obeys your specific criteria for what you're trying to pitch, sell, or whether you're trying to elicit a favor, whatever it is. And the reality distortion field can be considered a type of extreme qualification, because you're saying, this is what I need from someone that wants to work with me. I need this, 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 and this. A list of 30 or 40 demands. And either you align with every single one of them or you're out. So what happens is that at the end of the day, when you create a team or a community based on this, it's very repressive. Because the person is so bought in that they don't doubt you, period. They don't challenge you, they don't say anything against you, because they have to obey so many criteria that they literally consider you like a god or a visionary. They don't challenge you. And that's very, very dangerous, because if you don't have feedback, you can easily fall into an echo chamber, or you can just have a herd of sheep or yes men or yes women, and you don't really receive any type of feedback. So you don't improve your behavior, or you don't improve your worldview, right? It's almost like what happens to celebrities like actors. They have no real friends because everyone around them just wants to please them and they want to tell them how great they are, but they don't have anybody who is just honest and tells them to their face, this is what you did wrong, this is what you did well. So that's why overall, I think that the reality distortion field is pretty good if you want to be a dictator or if you want to create an army of people that don't doubt you in any way. But for any other purpose, I would not recommend it. So how does it work in a specific sales setting and how I have used it in the past? What happens is you make extreme demands. You say something like, I'm the only choice for this, I'm the top choice for this, and I don't negotiate. I don't negotiate price, I don't negotiate the format of the service, and I don't negotiate anything at all. Either you obey my terms or you're out of here, period. No concessions. And this can work, but it has two major problems. The first one is that it eliminates 90% of people. It's almost like the Prince of Nigeria scam, right? Where they keep the original scam and they don't change it because 90% of people know what it is and they reject it. But the other 10% are completely unprepared. And it's the exact same thing here. They're just looking for the next order. So it's pretty unhealthy as well. It's good to make easy money, but you hate yourself for it because you feel like you're taking money from people who really don't have a choice and they just want someone to follow and they're following you and you're taking the money from them. So I've used it in the past with extreme demands and no concessions, but it's not healthy at all at the end of the day. Some people use it, some marketers, some salespeople, but they kind of sound like dictators where they don't even agree to a little bit of negative feedback. And in my opinion, it's a plastic culture, it's a fake culture, and it doesn't please me at all. When I see that, what I think of is immediate repulsion. Maybe it's because I've had my evictions in the past, and I hate to see someone who doesn't have a choice and who has that need, kind of like that desperate need. They have like that look in their eyes where they think, hey, I just want to follow this person, I just want to do this. And I hate to see that attitude, that lack of options in somebody else. So it may just be me, but I think that this reality distortion field is very good if you want a dictatorship or if you want to create an army of sheep that don't doubt you, but it's not good at all for healthy discourse. Now, out of curiosity, I've also seen it in the corporate world. Not just seen it, but I've used it as well, and I felt the exact same repulsion that I did in the marketing/consultancy part. So in corporations, what happens is you have very repressive cultures where the person says, hey, I need this done by yesterday. If you don't have time to do it, work overtime, not going to pay you, do whatever you want, just get it done. But what happens is that this cascades down, right? So what happens is the CEO treats the senior managers in an unreasonable manner. The senior manager treats their subordinates in an unreasonable manner, and this cascades down all the way from the boardroom to the lowest level employees. So you end up with a corporate culture where the CEO is unreasonable in terms of the VPs are unreasonable in terms of the senior managers, and it goes all the way down. And you can't talk back to this person, you can't be reasonable, you can't tell them why they're wrong, or you can't tell them that there's a better way because they literally don't listen. They just think, hey, either you obey what I'm telling you to do or just leave, period. There's no other option. There's no forum for open discussion here. Either you do it or you're out. And it creates that same effect, right? The corporate culture just becomes, a set of zombies where nobody challenges anybody and where nobody has the courage to tell someone that they're wrong and they wouldn't listen anyway. So it's the same type of effect. So pretty much that's why my experience with the reality distortion field is a bit negative. Now here's the key. Are there lessons that we can learn from it? Yes. So one thing that I've learned is that you can be a little bit rigid. So I'm not going to be a dictator where I demand all of these terms and I make no concessions. But there are some things which are core. There are parts of my service or what I do or whatever it is where I have these base principles and I never compromise on them. So in a way, I'm a dictator in terms of the fundamentals which are important for me, which are like 5% of things or 10% of things. And I don't compromise on those at all. But I do want to have a healthy discourse in terms of everything else. Because remember, the more that you do this reality distortion thing, the more that you are going to polarize people. And this in its own is a negotiation tactic, which is when you have a long-term relationship with multiple people, the worse that you treat the person in the short term, the more that you're going to get, yes, but the less that they will collaborate with you on the future. So in many cases, it's better to not take that much for yourself at the beginning, but just keep the relationship for the future. In a way, it's instead of being a salesperson who wants to charge the highest possible for a client, they buy once and they never see you again. That's the equivalent of the reality distortion field. Instead, you make a little bit more of a concession here and there, but in turn, the clients are happy and they stay with you for months or years. So that's what I mean here. I would not use the reality distortion field unless it's for a very specific purpose where you want to maximize performance and where you don't care about the relationship with the other side. But what I would learn from it is that there are key principles that you have to be rigid about and don't compromise on those. They should only be a small set of principles, okay? So these are your core principles, the most important things, so that you are still within the realm of reason. But that's the lesson that I would draw. I think that it's a very powerful tool, but it's a tool that kills any long-term relationship with a client, with a prospect, with people in your company, and so on. So those are my thoughts. If you've enjoyed the content, please consider liking and subscribing, and remember to check out the channel for more negotiation, persuasion, and communication techniques, both in this area of life and also others as well. Thank you so much for watching.